you two are some of the best search engine optimization follows on X, and just some of my favorite people in the industry. And I've had you guys both on the show. Gagan, this is your third time. Harpreet, this is your second time. And I messaged both of you, and I'm like, oh my God, it would be so cool to see a conversation between you two. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yep. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having
having
us.
us.
I found you because you had posted, I think it was Google was coming after these sites with too much AI content. And
Yeah.
I forget exactly the tweet or post that you put up, but I started my video with it, and that's still one of my best performing podcasts. It got like 40,000 views, and I was like, Google is hitting these AI sites, and and then you send me on X just the best SEO stuff to make content on too.
Yeah. I think that was around a manual actions for scaled content abuse. The same thing that AI Invest is doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got hit, but I don't think it was a manual action.
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
think so. I think it probably like it was maybe the hype that also got them, that just like brought them under the eyes of like Google engineers, and they were like, yeah, we need to do something. Because I've seen those cases where you if anyone is mentioning anything and it is sort of going viral, then in like 3 to 4 months from that point of time, we see actual change in the search results.
Yeah, same thing here. That's what I think. I think it's probably not a manual action, but someone manually tweaked the algorithm to affect them, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, seen it with other sites like not even back in the day, like 2023, the Parasite SEO, like whole debacle, all the newspapers that people were complaining about, so like San Francisco Gate, Houston Chronicle, and a few others, they got hit, and their Parasite articles on like best casinos and whatever got like no index, like removed from the search engine results pages. But then other ones people weren't complaining about, like smaller, I'd say like mid-tier US publications, they were fine. So it's like if it was an algorithm, it would have affected like everyone. But I feel like noise definitely plays a part.
Noise plays a part.
Yes, even like last year, ABC in Australia did an article about like 7 or 8 fake stores ranking in Google search results. So there were some guys who were trying to scam people by doing like caveat products, like copying the brands and their images and everything else. But those sites were ranking. I think they were using Black Hat SEO. And as soon as the article was published by ABC, next week those sites were like gone from the search results. Like, and I was surprised to see the sites were still live, but nothing was showing up in the search results. And even though just 1 week before that, the sites were ranking like really, really well. So I think it might be possible that Google manually removed those sites, or maybe someone from ABC reached out to Google and told them that you guys need to take down these sites or not show them in search results.
Harpreet, that's why I was like, so you are the one who first shared that like $6 press release trick, and you get a press release from AB Newswire. You have the bulk package. It comes down to $6 per press release. You put a press release out. It influences AI overviews. It influences ChatGPT. It influences Perplexity, and still to this day, on ChatGPT and on AI overviews, you are the best AI SEO newsletter, SEO Espresso. Your newsletter is the best AI SEO newsletter, and it still works. But man, I applaud your balls for putting that out, because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, because I'd be like, oh man, someone's gonna report it or something's gonna change.
Yeah, you know why I put it out? Because they can do nothing about it. So maybe the $6 press release newswire sites, they have best. But how do you stop PR newswire? Like now, I'm talking about the bigger ones. So like I'd say the $500 or $1,000 press releases. How do you stop them from having an influence in AI? It's just the way AI works. It's just the way like the algorithms work. So I don't think Google can put a stop to that. I don't think the AI companies can put a stop to that, because if they stop training themselves on the subfolders of news websites, then how do the models improve? So it just goes back to how AI trains itself. So that's one of the reasons I put it out. And I've been doing that since I'd say 2019 when I joined I mentioned in the last podcast, a CBD company. So that was a very competitive space. You just cannot advertise and you need to think of out of the box solutions. And then every holiday where there was a sale, that would be one tactic we would use to, just get some extra sales. It's obviously not, it's not the only tactic a company should use, but if you want to boost sales here and there, it worked in e-commerce. And back then our goal was featured snippet. And in my view, the AI overview and even um, post people search in ChatGPT is just an evolution of the featured snippet, right? So yeah, I posted that specific trick because I don't think it will ever die.
You don't think it'll ever die? But you said they could take down the publications that AB Newswire syndicates to, or not take down, stop using.
The smaller ones, yeah. So
Financial
stuff like
content, that's the one that's always cited from you.
or like some small newspaper like the Kelowna Now, like in maybe it's not small, but like a much smaller read publication that syndicates the press release. Maybe they can stop using those to influence AI answers. But yeah, then when we talk about PR Newswire and some of the bigger ones, like they're not going to stop training on Yahoo Newswire releases, right? Because all of the world's biggest companies, they have their press releases syndicated through Yahoo, or most of them do anyway. AP News did do something. AP News no indexed their press release directory, and back when AB Newswire had the most value, so a few years ago, AP News was the one. You wanted to be picked up by AP News because that would instantly rank on page one for whatever keyword. Like forget about AI SEO newsletter because that's like lower difficulty. But if you wanted to rank for a real, like I'd say, I don't like using the numbers, but let's just say 70 plus difficulty keyword, AP News would not AP News, AP News would do the trick. So yeah, there's stuff that can be done, but I don't think that trick is really going to weed out just because of the way the internet works.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept doing it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords page is only 415 words. Compact Keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer recently said, "Each lesson is dense with information. You're giving years worth of experience boiled down into 15 to 30-minute lessons with no filler or fluff. I feel like I'm gaining a new superpower." Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast.
And also, like, just to add on it, I think regarding these kind of like broad issues with the search results, Google will have to come up with a solution that applies to everyone. And if it's like 50-50 case where it applies to large publishers but it don't applies to small publishers, then it's going to be a big outrage on X. Like right now, as Harpreet mentioned, all these sites which are syndicating the press releases and everything, they are showing up a lot in AI overviews and everywhere else. But if there is this introduction of solution like Google try to do something about it, then it has to be done equally. And I think that's not what Google want to do. So it can't be a country specific solution where Google in one country, let's say USA, will say that we not going to show press releases in AI overviews, but then leave out Australia. And then it's going to be a problem. And the same happened with the site reputation abuse policy that they introduced last year in March 2024, where they said that if you are abusing your authority signals and are hosting subfolder content which is not related to your main publication, for example, like Forbes Advisor hosting a subfolder where they are publishing like commercial content product reviews and everything else just to make money and leverage the domain authority of Forbes. So if Google is going to issue a manual action for them and remove that site from the search results, then other large publishers will come out and say why unfair treatment with us. And if same happen or something around those lines happens to small publishers, like in the last podcast we discussed what happened with helpful content update and how majority of the small publishers across the world were impacted. So I think the challenge for Google right now is to come up with a generalized solution for these problems. Because if they leave out 10% or 80% of it, then it's going to become a big negative PR scenario for them. And as of now, I don't think that they have a technical setup where they can bring up a generalized solution to make sure that the AI overviews or AI mode is not like gameable. It's pretty easy to game both these systems right now, and gameable like might sound like a weird word, or but it is what it is. Like you can do certain things where you can make AI mode to say certain things about your brand in a certain way that you prefer.
Yeah. You're so right. So just yesterday I posted on X, and this is a really good example about AI mode. I looked at the keyword best budgeting software. 12 of the 14 results in AI mode specifically are lists on a SaaS blog where they place themselves in number one. So, like, that to me is a complete failure of the algorithm, of the AI model, the AI system. That's what the AI tool is using to provide the answer, like best budgeting software, which is a huge keyword, like company that's $100 a month CPC keyword. The fact that they can't weed out those blog posts, they have an issue. How long is it going to take them to fix? I think they won't be able to, because this, like, creating listicles on your own blog and putting yourself in number one to influence the search result. It's not new, and it's not for AI. People were doing this before AI, 2017, 2018, 20, like way before AI. And the fact that a tactic that worked in regular Google now works in AI mode, I think it's not a good look on Google. And that's why I say there's always going to be a way to influence AI. So now, if you are a brand new SaaS company and your blog doesn't have the domain authority to rank in that AI mode answers, well, what's the next thing you're going to do? You're going to find a listicle in either a third party, which then you're going to go to a site which engages in site reputation abuse, or you can backdoor your way through a press release. So yeah, I
I
think
think what
the
is happening with AI mode, like Harpreet, you mentioned that a certain type of content where a person is creating a list and placing their own business at number one, that is getting shown in AI mode a lot. But if you step back and see what is happening right now, is that AI mode is essentially like summarizing what is there in search results. So it is amplifying the positives of whatever Google have done over the years in terms of like building high quality search results, and it is also amplifying the negatives of the search results. So the impact is getting worse. So let's say if direct harm, like let's say if someone is searching a medical thing, if 100 people were impacted negatively by Google search results every year because they got a wrong medical information or something like that, AI mode amplifies that to thousands of people. So this is going to be a big problem for Google, because right now they are not dealing with edge cases where they can say that, oh, these are just like certain people in a certain sector, 100 or 1,000 sites who are doing that. We can just ignore that because we have millions of sites to rank. But with AI mode, if someone is doing a chat, and all the negatives in the search results will ultimately like add up to an answer, and that answer will have like significant impact on whoever is reading that.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that kind of segues into eat. So for all these years, people in SEO, they've been talking about eat and then like double eat. But when AI mode makes a search, right, it searches tons of websites, searches 10, 15, 20, 25 websites. So now you're telling me like all of these websites satisfy whatever eat signals that they were supposed to satisfy like 3 years ago. That's definitely not the case. Maybe the first few do, because eat's a touchy subject anyway. Like, just because you have an author that reviews a piece doesn't mean it has eat. But I see eat as more of like a brand thing. Like, you trust, maybe you're going to trust IBM with AI, or you're going to trust the NHS in the UK with a medical query. You might not trust a medical query on a medical affiliate website, but now you have the situation where, AI mode's pulling from that medical affiliate website that is ranking on page 2 to provide the AI mode answer. But actually, 3 years ago, when there was no AI overview and no AI mode, because E kind of did its job, that medical affiliate site was weeded out and no one really saw it because it was on page 3. So yeah, you make a very good
Yeah.
point.
I feel like EAT was introduced to control the overall editorial of the search results, where Google, let's say the top 5 results, they wanted it to be people who are known, or the businesses or brands who are known. That was like the main goal of Google. Like, at least the top 5 results for the queries should be something that people are already familiar with. But right now, if we see AI mode, what Google need to do is adjust the system level prompt, like how AI mode is actually working. So if someone is doing a search in Australia to see like which activewear brand they should buy shorts or gym stuff from, is the system prompt is set up such that it's going to look up the Trustpilot reviews where there are 3 or 4 negative reviews about the brand, or is the system prompt is set up that it's going to Reddit, specifically search through all those subreddits to look for 1 or 2 negative opinions, and how it's going to highlight that in the answer. So I feel like it is going to become a challenge of editorial right now. That if the AI mode system level prompt is designed by Google to look for negative stuff, and it's there is pretty much nothing that you can optimize for in terms of it to control that answer. So if someone is going to search for your brand, and in the system level, just put your brand name in AI mode, and if in the system level prompt it says that go to Reddit and look for negative stuff about this brand, and at least a part of that comment or whoever left that comment in Reddit is getting mentioned in the AI mode answer, it's going to have impact on your brand. And there is pretty much nothing that you can do to control that. So I think system level prompts that Google is using for these systems is going to have more impact over time compared to each or overall marketing strategy that SEO professionals can execute.
Yeah, I think so too, because I don't think Eat is a marketing strategy. Like you said, Eat kind of comes through the brand itself. Like, there's certain brands you just trust. That's Eat, because it built up that brand reputation over years, and that kind of correlates to websites too. But like, you talk about the system level prompts, I think Google's rolling out AI mode too fast, because just the other day I was doing some medical query related searches on AI mode. So Google Canada. So I'm right now based in Vancouver, BC, but AI mode's giving me information from the NHS, and there's certain limits that are different from the NHS in the UK to Canada. Like, Health Canada follows certain different practices. So, in my opinion, the AI mode should have known that this person's searching from Canada, and it should have just excluded the NHS. But I find what's happening now is, when the AI cannot find an answer, it does some extra digging to actually give you an answer. So I think that kind of aligns to what you're saying with system level prompts. AI mode needs to know when to cut off and basically stop talking and not give you an answer, versus give you something that might not even apply to you because you're in a different country. And that goes back to you with product reviews. So someone looking for a product in Australia, they might have a different experience to someone looking for a product in the UK, because maybe I don't know, the weather's different, but you know what I mean. How that product is used, and you don't want those UK reviews to influence the product in Australia. GHD is a good example, actually. So, example from my wife, she's got a straightener, and I think GHD is a UK brand. But when you try and search for their warranty and return, so they have a warranty where if something goes wrong with the straightener, you can return it. But I remember when she wanted to return the straightener, she couldn't find any information on how to return it in Canada, because the only thing that was ranking was the Australia website, and the Australia GHD site had way more pages than the UK site and the US site. So this is not an AI mode issue, but it's another example of how something in like traditional SEO, like the concept we're talking about, also applies to AI.
Gagan, I want to know. You said there are so many tricks to gaming AI.
I think the number one will be Reddit, where especially if you're looking at local search results, where you want to rank for best related keywords in your city. Let's say you are a accounting firm in Melbourne and you just want to show up if someone is looking for best accounting firm in Melbourne, then that answer is mostly getting controlled by Reddit. So you can do some marketing on Reddit. I generally recommend it to be helpful, where you go into different relevant subreddits and try to contribute your opinions about whatever people are asking, rather than it being like where you are trying to spam in subreddit, in any subreddits. So that is the one thing that you can do to control city level answers, because right now Google is heavily relying on content in Reddit. So as a business, if you want to show up in AI mode or AI overviews more often, you should look into like contributing to whatever subreddit is relevant for you.
I got a good one from the other day. So this isn't for AI mode; it's for Chat GPT. And we're kind of going to mention a tool because we have to use the tool to find the citations, but you can also just make some searches yourself in ChatGPT and see what the sources are. So, I was just doing some research and I was looking for the best noise canceling headphones and like best headphone related keywords. And then in ChatGPT, I was noticing that like ratings and like PC World and a few other big sites were not mentioned. And they had a bunch of random websites. So I just took one, techbloat.com. So anyone or whoever's going to be listening, check out techbloat.com. And if you've got an Ahrefs subscription, take that domain and put it in Ahrefs, and you'll be able to see the number of ChatGPT citations that domain has. And it has thousands. It has like 14,000 plus citations within ChatGPT, but its Google traffic is like 200 or 300. So I think one way to game AI is you got to do some research, maybe spend an hour for all your main keywords, put them in, and then go through all the citations within ChatGPT, extract the sites. Where can you buy a guest post? Because there's loads of low quality websites ranking in ChatGPT where you can purchase a guest post for 10, 15, 20, $100. You can insert the information you want to insert, and then that blog post is ranking within ChatGPT. So it's a bit of a longer hack, but one that definitely works. And yeah, if you want to try this out, just search for best noise canceling headphones, and then just go through the citations. Put each of the sites into Ahrefs, and you'll be able to see how many
Wait, so
citations they rank for.
sorry, uh, why is this site doing so well with ChatGPT and so poorly with Google?
So this is not something that I have. I'm still researching right now, and it's funny. Lily Ray commented on the post saying it's the subject of her next research project. So that's something I'll be looking forward to. But from what I can see, like initially, all of the content on the site is AI generated. They mass publish, so maybe it's the velocity thing where they publish a serious amount of pages in a short amount of time. Now we know for Google that works for a bit, but then companies start to decrease keywords, decrease their ranking. So maybe that's an issue. But what I found, a lot of these websites, they didn't mass publish in the last 2 or 3 months. Some of the pages have been live for 6 or 7 months, and the AI algorithms, they still haven't weeded out these websites. So maybe their systems are just not advanced enough to not train themselves on these sites. And yeah, they have thousands of pages. So something in common between the sites is they all have like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 plus pages. I haven't seen a thin site show up as a citation.
Yeah, also like to speak of other side of the aisle, like we discussed like some tactics that you can use right now to show up. But what is the long term strategy? Like what is a long term game? Like let's say if you're a medium to large brand, like you're doing over 10 million yearly revenue, or you're doing even 100 million, you should not be trying out these like little tactics. These are for just like really really small businesses who are like at least like have 6 months of runway, and they just want like quick leads for their business to survive or get through a hurdle or something like that. But if you're a big brand and you have millions in like monthly or yearly revenue, you should be putting a significant amount of resources in building a long term enough strategy that even if the AI systems are changing, or even if there are new AI systems coming along from different companies, you will still show up. So that is what you should be looking to build towards. And in terms of that strategy, you should look into doing overall general marketing everywhere. So you should make sure that your website has right content for right audience group that you want to attract as customers. Same, you have content on your Instagram, your TikTok, your YouTube, your Substack, your Reddit. You have to step back and see it as you're not doing SEO, you are doing web marketing. You're looking at the whole web and seeing wherever you can push content, you're pushing it. And wherever people are mentioning you, either it be like an Instagram reel where someone is reviewing your product, or someone said something about you in a YouTube video, you should try to collect all those opinions and bring it back on your website and publish it either as a blog post, or maybe have somewhere to show it, so that Google can process all that context easily. So if Google is coming to your site, they will be able to like see that, oh, these 10 YouTubers have said these things about your product, so there must be some value in it. So that is the kind of the strategy that you need to build as a brand if you're looking to survive in for long term. And in terms of like hedging your bet, the main thing that you should look at is the system prompt, because with that change, everything changes. So if even if your overall web marketing is done really really well, but tomorrow if Google changes the system prompt to make it such that they are going to show more of YouTube content, you need to adjust your strategy and say that system prompt has changed. Answers are more biased towards YouTube. There is more of YouTube. We should reallocate our budget more towards YouTube. And God knows what, like maybe 3 months down the road, Google or ChatGPT change their system prompt to say that we're going to value TikTok more or Reddit more. So you always have to keep an eye on what can be the possible system prompt of these AI mode or ChatGPT or Perplexity can be, what sources they are weighing, and how you build the strategy according to that.
Yeah, they're all very good points because what you just said is how like a big enterprise organization can pivot. Because when we talk about individual like sub SEO strategies or like sub marketing strategies for big companies, it's very hard to pivot because there's so many people working in that marketing team or in that organization, and you need approval from you know different managers and whatnot. But what you just said, if you start optimizing for everywhere, so if you have some content on YouTube, if you're taking Reddit seriously, if you're taking your website seriously, taking everything seriously, then whatever the system prompt is, whatever the algorithm is favoring at that time, you just need to do a few extra things and you're able to win. Whereas now what happened with it's a very good point what you just said. So what we're seeing with Reddit right now is because there's so many companies out there, enterprise companies, they never had a community strategy. If they had a community strategy built in 2018, 2019, 2020, you know, they wouldn't be scrambling to buy Reddit mentions right now. And we're seeing enterprise companies do that. Even at SEO conferences, we're seeing SEOs, present and give presentations about you need to be in Reddit, you need to build a community. Well, if you do now because Google is favoring Reddit, but if you had built that community a long time ago, so I work on a finance website. They've been trying to build an Excel-based community for many years now. So when these things changed, we weren't affected. We weren't affected as much as other companies that had no community at all. So yeah, that's what you said was I think a very important point, and I don't think still enough companies are doing it because again, generally, I think larger companies they're more reactive than proactive. Like even for social media, one of the things working in social media right now is individual people's profile doing better than the company's profile. So I think enterprise companies they're leaving they're leaving they're leaving visibility on the table because they're not optimizing the individual profiles of their key employees. Some companies are doing it quite quite well, but there's so many like companies in accounting and finance and email marketing where they might have a very good VP of marketing, they might have a very good SEO manager, they might have a very good paid ads manager, but they're not leveraging their social profile. They're not leveraging their profile to elevate the company. If all of that makes sense, because if they did that now, they're already doing social media marketing for their domain. But if they elevate the profile of 5 other people in their company, that's 5 times the visibility they could potentially get for certain keywords.
Yes, and even like I think if you're a large company, like how you should be approaching to execute on these things. Like, should your VP of marketing or your CMO or your brand manager, like whoever is leading the charge of the marketing, uh, how they should be structuring these efforts. I feel like there need to be a regular meeting where you are discussing AI search optimization, like not specifically Google ChatGPT, just a general meeting, let's say 1 or 2 hours a month, where you go to your social media team. You of course have your SEOs. You of course have anyone who is external to your company. Let's say you're working with an agency or someone else for creative, paid ads, or anything. You specifically need to bring the focus down to a meeting where you define the KPIs for each channel and how that channel is not going to contribute to itself growth, like Instagram, how much Instagram followers or views are growing, or how much YouTube subscribers are growing. Rather, you need to have KPIs set in a way where you try to measure how much of your YouTube effort is improving your AI search visibility, how much is your Instagram effort is improving your AI search visibility. And by AI search visibility, I mean like either it can be a brand mention, product mention in the answer, or a direct link. And of course, like there are so many tools out there that you can try to use to get some brief overview of like how these you are actually proceeding with your strategy. Like you can use Profound, Pack AI, Prompt Watch. All these tools are tracking prompts and saying like which brand or is getting mentioned, which brand is getting most links. But these are just like small tools. We don't know exactly like what kind of prompts people are actually doing. These just have like standardized prompts. So you should not be taking it as a grain of salt, but you should rather be taking it as a directional data that you can use to drive your AI search efforts.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And just on prompt monitoring. So one of the things I do is I have a bunch of prompts. I don't use a prompt tracker for this, but I just have them in an Excel sheet. And so, for example, what are the cons of this software company? I want to track that over time. Where I won't use my own ChatGPT because, of course, it's influenced by what I search. But every week or every month, just open a new incognito window and then search for what are the cons of a product. And then see what ChatGPT is saying, and then you're able to address those cons. So one way I'm actually doing this, and it's a shame I can't give the exact company name in the example, but I can show you through the workflow what we're doing. So yeah, what are the cons of this finance product? The issue is that all of those third-party listicles we spoke about at the beginning of the call, where companies rank themselves as one, they say bad things about our product. So what's one of the negatives about those lists? A lot of companies don't create them in a fair and balanced way, which is okay. That's reflective of how they do business. And they will say bad things like, "Oh, the implementation time for this software is too long." Well, okay, now because they said that, and 5 other companies have that in their best roundup list, now AI thinks that the implementation time for this finance software is too long. So what do you do? And Gagan, like you mentioned earlier on, have a blog post. So what is involved in a finance software implementation? So that blog post, written by the chief technology officer or whoever in your company. They give insights into how to actually implement a product in an enterprise company, but then go beyond that. And we talked about social profiles. So my social person, or not my social person, but the social person in our team just messaged me yesterday and said that what videos can the CTO of the company create next? And he's doing like a misconception series. So misconceptions of the product. And I just went to my Excel sheet and my list of cons that ChatGPT is saying about the product. And I was like, you can choose any of these because these are all the cons ChatGPT is saying, and many of those are actually misconceptions. So yeah, like I said, implementation is one. So AI says that it takes a year to implement. That's wrong. You can get a finance software implemented in an enterprise team, within 6 to 12 weeks. So that's one of the misconception videos he'll be creating. So he'll create that video, he'll post it on his own LinkedIn profile where he has thousands of followers because he is the chief technology officer of a huge company in Canada. But then you'll take that video and you'll cut it up or you'll edit it, you'll post it on YouTube. You'll take that video, you'll post it in multiple places, and now all of a sudden you have a way to address a con that AI was saying that wasn't really a con in the first place because the training data is bad. But that's how one way, that's the type of meeting you'll have. So when you have a meeting in an organization, it's not just how many citations that we have, how many mentions. What is AI saying about the company, and how can we all work together to address what AI is saying?
When you have them addressing these cons, I'm just thinking about how the implementation and the copy for this, because that's a dangerous thing to like publicly call out a con about your business, like something that people are saying is bad about your business, especially if it's not like a huge thing and it's really only being surfaced with AI and it's not something that like everyone is talking about. It's not some viral scandal or something. So what's the language that you would use, that you would have them use when writing the LinkedIn post, when making the YouTube video on this?
Yeah. So I'd say implementation varies for organizations of different sizes. And this is something we did. So it did kind of turn into, I wouldn't say a full blown crisis, but there were comments in Reddit where people are saying, oh, the product takes too long to implement. But we do think they could be competitors, trying to do shady things within Reddit. But yeah, the way you do it is it's a misconception that implementation for this software takes 2 years. And then you go from there. Teams of different sizes, they take implementation takes different times of length. You can say that smaller teams can be up and running within like 3 to 6 weeks. But if you are a larger enterprise organization with, let's just say, a huge finance team, it is going to take a little bit longer. But I feel like those customers in the bigger enterprise teams, they already know that they're not going to be up and running with a major new accounting software within 3 weeks. They already have that expectation that it is going to take some time. I think content like this addresses more buyers that I would say are mid-market. So like just above small business, but in the mid-market region. And that brings me on to another point where when AI is saying something, who is your target customer and are they speaking to your ICP? So maybe you want the AI messaging to speed up the sales cycle of enterprise clients, or maybe you want your AI messaging to attract more small business and mid-market clients. So I think, yeah, Gagan, like you said, teams need to be having these conversations of how we show up in an AI, but more importantly, like what is AI saying saying about us, and then let's try and address that, even if it is a con. How can we twist the con and address it? Because if you don't, somebody else will. And that's the thing about the internet. And going back to our press release conversation 30 minutes ago, if we don't say something, somebody else is, and they're going to take that real estate. So you might as well try and do something to own the space.
Yes, I think what's happening right now is that overall, all these systems are pulling from the web. So the impact of anything that is being said about you on the web is just adding up to a lot. So over time, I think what marketing teams need to do is they need to have or build their own tools to do like a web monitoring, where a tool is like checking Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, YouTube, and keeping an eye on all the brand mentions, either is in like positive context or negative context. So as soon as, let's say, tomorrow someone leaves a negative comment about your brand on Reddit, as soon as possible you should have some content up either on your website or on your YouTube addressing that thing. You will have to address all those things, otherwise all those negative comments spread throughout the web on different websites, social media platforms, it's going to add up to a significant opinion when these systems are building an answer. So I'm not sure like if there will be like any major tool in SEO industry or in marketing industry which is doing like overall web monitoring for you, and is pulling in all these data and highlighting to you that this is what people are talking about you everywhere, and based upon that you can as soon as possible push out some content either on your website, social channels, as I mentioned.
Yeah, and that just goes back down to community building. So like if enterprise organizations, again, like speaking to, I think this is speaking to more larger companies, because for smaller ones it might be more difficult to do, but yeah, like a community manager, that would be their role. Right, take a look at brand mentions around the internet. What are people saying? Are people leaving good reviews? Are people leaving bad reviews? How can we address that? But from the SEO manager's point of view, so now I'm speaking to the SEOs, aim for the small wins. So mention the implementation thing 10 minutes ago. One of the first things you can do is, if you don't have a time on your website. So a lot of SaaS products, um, they just talk about implementation, but they don't have a time frame. If the AI overview, AI mode, ChatGPT is saying this implementation for this brand takes 1 year. Well, say the implementation can begin from 3 months, because I tested that, and then the AI overview changed to, although reviews say the implementation takes 12 months, this company claims on their website that implementation can happen from 3 months. Now, that's not the biggest win we need, but as an SEO person, now it gives you some leverage to take back to the rest of your team and say, hey, we made this very small change on our website, and now look, we're influencing the AI overview. Same thing for pricing. So many SaaS companies, software companies, they hide their pricing, and AI just makes it up. So even SEO tools, SEO crawler tools. So if you type in like, how much does Spotify charge a year, it's just going to pull pricing from like G2 and Reddit and random sites. But if Spotify just said that, hey, our packages start at 80,000 a year, or whatever they charge, AI overview, AI mode is going to mention that along with the other sources. But now at least you have your own statement within the AI answer, and then it's up to the customer to either reach out to you or believe what they see on third party websites. So I think SEOs, once we get the small wins, and once we can show teams that, hey, we're able to influence AI answers by making these small tweaks on our website, it's a lot easier to get buy-in for some of the other bigger stuff
What's
we
your
just
take on
talked
how
about.
you would actually would you do that? Would you have just one long Q&A? Would you have a blog post on this? Would you do so? Actually, an interesting suggestion that I heard was having literally very short 40 to 60 word pages, each targeting a different question about the brand. And so it's like, imagine you have a long Q&A, but that's broken up into individual pages. How would you do it?
Yeah, it depends on the way the website is built out. So, for example, one of the websites I'm working on is they don't have FAQs in that sense on the pages. Um, they're kind of more modern, and like the pages, they just look more futuristic. So in that case, with the implementation, we just put a line in on the page. The
Just on the
implementation can
homepage.
no, on the
Oh,
specific
okay.
implementation
Yeah.
page. So like on the specific implementation page. But yeah, there's different ways you can go about it. I have seen companies do FAQs, and that goes back to SEO from 2020, 2019 again, where everyone was having FAQs on the page, and they're trying to use FAQ schema to rank for extra stuff. So I think, yeah, that is definitely coming back, and I've seen companies have FAQs specifically to try and show up in AI search. What you just mentioned with each individual page, I think that's a interesting one. Um, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't seen that personally, but I think it could work in something like ChatGPT. But for something like Google, we might have an issue where some pages don't get indexed because they're either so thin or they don't say enough information. So yeah, that's
That was
curious to do
from
some
so that was from
digging.
these two guests that I had on the show. It was 2 episodes ago, DJ Sprague and Scott Brandley. And so they literally made an FAQ tool, and they were emailing about it afterwards. And I questioned them about this on the show, and I think Gagan, you told me you watched part of that, and you saw me questioning them. Yeah. But I was just like, but if you have like all of these FAQ pages, like, isn't that going to make things bloated? So DJ Sprague was sending me screenshots afterwards, and it was just like really, really positive upward spikes of organic traffic. And it's a cool idea because you are making useful pages because you're targeting questions that people actually have. And like, if you think of it from a user experience perspective, people don't want to have to scroll through a long page or article to get their answer. It's so much better if it's just right there. And it kind of it's not something that I've really seen before, but it's a cool idea and it makes sense. And what you do is the question is basically a subfolder. And so you have this, it's not right off the root domain. It's maybe off of a product page. So yourdomain.com/product/question, and then / the answer. And that / the answer is its own page with the answer to the question. And from what I'm seeing, these things work, which is just a crazy concept.
But how? Okay, so I think if they're branded FAQs, I think they'll continue to work. But if they're non-branded, so what you just said, one of the things I went back to, but then you clarified it, was the subdomain. So it's kind of like a lot of companies have support. Yeah, subfolders. Support.zendesk.com or whatever. Like they used to do that, and then some companies have very technical documentation on those. So it kind of brings me back to that. But if they're having it on their main domain in a subfolder, if it's branded, I don't think there would be many SEO consequences other than bloat. But if it's a huge website, what's an extra few hundred pages? It doesn't matter. But at the same time, like how necessary is that? And it could be on the product page. So I think it's going to be different for each brand. So I just typed in now, are Sonos headphones? Not Sonos. What did I type in? Are Sonos headphones waterproof, but they don't make, I don't know if they make headphones or not, but the first thing is Sonos Ace wireless over-ear headphones, and it goes straight to the page. I like that because they probably talk about waterproofing on the page. So if you're a customer and you're typing in, let's just say, are Apple AirPods waterproof? You type that on Google. Do you want to go to an FAQ page or do you want to go to the product page with the FAQ? So I'd be interested into knowing how those FAQ pages are affecting the buyer cycle. Like, what are people doing next? Are they going to the product page? How have they integrated the product in the journey of that page? So again, I'd go beyond SEO, and I'd want to
This is why I like pages that target use cases, bottom of funnel use cases. Because if you're targeting a bottom of funnel use case where somebody knows what they want, but they don't know the brand that's going to give them what they want, you target that use case, and then you explain how your product or service gives people what they want. And you target enough of those use cases, and you explain these things like how long implementation takes, things that you're actually making a sales page that people are going to be interested in. And then you have that language across different bottom of funnel pages, and that influences AI really well. That gives it also just, instead of having like all of these, and I'm not saying anything bad about the FAQ pages, this is just my preferred method. Then instead of having like so many pages, you have like maybe a handful of bottom of funnel pages that explain why your brand and service, why your product and service is so great. That's what I really like.
Yeah, I think so. And what you just said about why your product or service is so great, again, it goes beyond the SEO conversation because marketing teams are so big. So if you've got like a PR team, even your founder, it depends whatever you're selling, like what makes you so great. So Lily Ray had actually had a really good post on Twitter or X the other day, and she was talking about Levi jeans, and she mentioned that they were the most cited jean brand in AI, and she was looking at or most mentioned, I believe, and then she compared Levi to a bunch of other jeans brands, and that makes sense because they've got like 100 years of history behind them. They're the most recognizable jeans brand around the world, and they did that through brand building over 100 years, and that translated to AI. Obviously, not everyone can do that, but I think the best companies, they're not churn and burn companies. They're not around for 2 years. You look at like Hoka now and like these like leisure brands. they do like running shoes and stuff like that. I think Rafa Nadal is involved with one of them, or Roger Federer, one of the two. But they're building brands properly and the long way. They might not be doing SEO stuff that we think is normal, but what they are doing is brand building. And now that's why their brands are being mentioned by AI tools when people type in like, what are the best running shoes, or what are the most comfortable running shoes? You see these new brands mentioned because they're doing brand building the right way. So again, I think, yeah, like it goes. I used to hate the word like SEO is just saying build a brand, but I think when SEO people, like we're having the conversation now, we're talking about building a brand, but we're not just saying build a brand. We're actually we're giving examples of how a brand can be built. Um, that's the way to show up in AI. Sometimes you don't need to do all these smaller hacks, but if you're a legitimate company and you want to be around for more than a couple of years, you have to invest in brand building. You have to invest in billboards. You have to invest in community. You have to invest in having a good product. You can't just always rely on new customers. So one thing about SEO, and I'm going to go back to CBD, to the company I was at, we did a really good job at getting new customers through Parasite SEO. So whether it be third-party articles or whether it be press releases, we did such a good job at getting new customers, but we did a terrible job at retaining customers. And you can't keep putting water in a bucket that's leaking water. At some point, you have to fix the leak, and you only do that by building a quality brand, quality product that people want to come back to, people want to recommend, because then you build your community naturally too. Like it's okay being on Reddit and trying to influence Reddit, but if you've got a great product, like I'm going to recommend it to you, you're going to recommend it to your friend, they're going to recommend it to someone else, and that's automatically going to find its way to Reddit as well, which will find itself in the AI training data. So yeah, long story short, different tactics for different companies, but if you want to play the long game and if you want to build a company the right way, I think brand building, investing in PR, investing in your product is the way forward, because then you will win. Like there is no other
I gotta share.
alternative.
So this is such a cool tactic. All right. So I like I said, I had these two people on the podcast 2 days ago, and they specialize in online reputation management, and so they recommended after someone purchases, and then you send them an email or something saying, "Hey, it would be great if you left us a review on," or no, you ask, "What did you think of it?" You ask like, "What did you think?" And then you say it would be great if you put this on Reddit or if you put this on Trustpilot or wherever. But someone in the comments said, no, no, no. What you actually do is first you have them give like a star rating. So you have them rate the products, and then you only for the people who actually give like 5 stars or 4 stars, then you tell those people to actually go to Reddit, go to these places and leave the reviews. And I'm like, oh man, that's devious. And then you have like these positive brand mentions appearing all over the place that are helping everything. And I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, it is. Tony is working with a cafe owner in London, small business, small cafe. He does that. So he did this before I even spoke to him. So he's a friend of a friend, but he does that in his cafe. Like he has a little QR code on the tables, and what the QR code does is they leave a review, but only if it's 5 stars. Well, then they get the link to leave the Google review. I think
Oh,
that might be against the
it's
terms
totally
of
against like the terms of
service.
service for like lots of places. Yeah.
But terms of service is interesting because G2 and like these G2, Capterra, these companies, you can get paid to leave reviews on G2. So I just got an email the other day from a software company, like a analytics software company, saying, get a $50 gift card to leave a review on G2. So AI and algorithms have such a big problem because at one system, it's against the terms of service to do what we just said, like review gating, or even pay someone for a review, and you can't even give someone like a free donut or whatever in return for a Google review. It's against their terms of service. But now we're seeing in AI mode, ChatGPT, all these systems, they rely so heavily on G2, where the reviews can be paid. So if you're an algorithm, there's no way you can set up a fair system. Like there's always going to be a winner and loser somewhere. Like there's always going to be a way you can game
When I think about
the
black
system.
hat stuff, what I think about is how likely is this tactic to be caught. So if you think about something like scaled content abuse, well, that's very easy to catch. That's very easy to catch. That's just pattern recognition. But if you think of actually something like review gating like this, that's because if someone gives a bad review, then you actually have like a customer support rep like personally reach out. You have someone from the company personally reach out, and you treat that person really well. And it's so it's like how likely are you to be caught if you do something like this tactic, which sure is also against the rules. And for something like that, I don't think you're like very likely at all to be caught.
No. Yeah, you're not, because who's gonna, unless a competitor like rats you out with full on proof. But even then,
But
they
then in
won't. They
order,
won't
yeah,
have
to
the
get the
proof.
proof, they have to buy the product twice, and then they have to test what happens if you give a good review and if you give a bad review. And yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, you're right. I think that's the best way to approach black hat tactics. Like, how likely are you to get caught out? How likely is it that other companies can
that's why this AI slop as
replicate
a
your
service
tactics?
stuff is so funny to me. It's like, how do you expect you to get away with this for like a long? It's like hilarious.
Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, yeah. AI slough is interesting. I don't like I mentioned ramp on my Twitter a couple of weeks ago in
I shared
Profound.
that, by the way. I shared that on the
I get what
podcast. Yeah.
Yes, I get what they're doing, and I'm sure they're building a great tool, but like you got to recognize you're just enabling AI slop at a mass scale. And I think what frustrates me is that I get CMOs, I get other people send me messages saying, "Can we do this?" I'm like, "Not really. Like you shouldn't be doing this." Like Ramp's strategy, like if you go to their accounts payable page, they built like 25 articles on accounts payable software for environmental agencies, accounts payable software for mining, like well, whatever, like accounts payable software plus an industry. Like, why do you think that is a good idea? Like, who recommended it? Some of those pages are not even indexed on Google. Like, what's the end game? So I think SEO tool companies, they have because they have so much money behind them, or I'd say GEO tool companies in this case, because they have so much money behind them, they have a moral obligation, in my opinion, to advocate for the right tactics and not AI slop as a service. Because there's going to be a founder out there that's, puts all their life's work or puts a lot of money into a business project, and they might believe what one of these people is saying, and they might do what one of these people is saying, and then they're going to lose all their money. And then who's to blame? Do you blame the founder, or do you blame the marketing company that is getting so much visibility for these tactics? So that's the reason I posted that tweet, and that's the reason I've been speaking more about AI slop as a service. Because yeah, I think YC invested in a couple of AI slop as a service companies. There was another one that went viral the other day on Twitter. Try Meridian, like the same stuff. I think Profound now have a content score built in. Now that they have, or they're going to have a content score built in the next couple of weeks. How is that content score? How is it any different from what someone like Surfer SEO is doing? Like it's not. You're just enabling slop on a mass scale, and there's going to be a lot of people that get burned basically in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think what like one of my friend was telling me that he's tracking how much money is going into these like geo tools or like these new AI powered tools, and he's getting to somewhere around like 120 million overall has gone into this space in just like last 2 years. So to if any investor overall 120 is going in, the overall expectation of all those investors is going to be almost like $500 million revenue in next 5 years. So that's going to be almost like 200 to 300 million revenue for all these new tools and AI powered stuff and everything. Is it possible that even Hrefs is, I think, are doing around 150 or 100 million? Is it possible for all these guys to generate so much revenue out of SEO industry if they are going in a legit way where they are thinking of ethics before like introducing any product which can be go viral and get used to do stuff like scale content reviews? So I think it's not them, it's just the investors who are backing them. They are in next year, I think they will be, because most of investments are happening this year. next year it will come to a point where investors will be reviewing their numbers and saying like, we are not growing, you have to grow. And to grow, people are going to push more of these weird features out in the market, because they want, overall market want to get 300 million per year out of SEO sector. And I feel like it's going to get more and more weird in this space. And I don't blame it on people like who have raised the money. Like, it's great to start a business, you want to raise venture capital and everything else, like that's great. But all that accountability from investors, when it will be coming to the founders and their executive teams to deliver on numbers, there will be more and more weird features, which, as Harpreet mentioned, over time will add up to more and more brands getting actually hammered in search results, losing their visibility in AI, more AI overviews, and over time, like losing traffic, revenue, people are going to lose jobs. So I don't know what's going to happen, but this is where I see things are heading right now.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you. There's a lot of pressure on these companies. There will be a lot of pressure on these companies to return, return, to return a profit. But I think from like, again, I'm siloing myself as an SEO. So from an SEO point of view, it's frustrating to see because you have all of these. I'm not going to name names, but you have a lot of like great SEOs out there that talk about making helpful content, talk about making like great quality content. But now they're like jumping on the bandwagon of these GEO companies and they're talking about the features that they have, which is enabling AI slop. I think there's a bit of double standards there. Um, but yeah, just going back to it, there's going to be a lot of people that get burned in the next 2 years. I think investors are not going to make the money back. If you make a list of all the GEO tool companies or GEO visibility providers, there's not space for all of them. So some of them are just undoubtedly going to fail or get swallowed up by someone else. Like even in the SEO world right now, you have Ahrefs, you have SEMrush, and then Moz used to be really big, but I believe they had some financial difficulties not long ago. So even in the SEO space, there's just two really big companies that every SEO kind of knows, and then it's the rest. Like everybody knows Screaming Frog, but they haven't turned that into something. They haven't. I don't know how well they've like monetized that. They might have done, but in terms of companies that are growing, there's Ahrefs, there's SEMrush, and then there's everybody else. Same thing's going to happen for GEO visibility. I think there'll be one or two companies that everybody recognizes, and I think Profound will be one of them, just because of the backing they have and the SEOs they're working with. But yeah, there's going to be so many that don't make it. There's going to be a lot of investors that lose their money. But the worst thing out of it all is going to be the brands that trusted these companies to grow them in AI, grow them in SEO, and they're just not gonna grow.
I think one main metric that we should be focusing on is like how much overall money this AI search GEO is going to bring in the overall SEO market. So let's say the services market, if it's services like actually
Gagan, wait,
services.
sorry, I want to just interrupt. Did my video cut out? Because it's
Yeah,
my, I
like
don't know, something's been happening it happened like 2 minutes ago and it just happened. So okay, I apologize. Keep going if my video cuts out. Just keep
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I think what the main metric that we need to focus is like how much new money for services, actual services, SEO services, all these AI, GEO hype is going to bring into the SEO sector. And I don't see that amount is like really high as of now. So let's say if the overall SEO sector is doing like 5 billion of services, actual services where the invoicing is happening, how much more money for the services all these AI search GEO hype is bringing in the market right now? Because I am seeing like minimal of it. Like everyone that I'm talking with, all the brands, all the CMOs, they want to discuss AI search and they want to do something about it. But when it comes to like actually allocating a significant budget to it, I'm not saying that, at least in Australia, Singapore, these markets in this region. I'm not sure like what's going in the US or over there in Harpreet, Canada. But it's going to be interesting to see like next year overall how much net new money will be coming into the sector for services, especially for AI search and GEO or whatever you want to call it.
What I've been seeing in the like what I've been seeing anyway is these SEO or GEO tool companies, they're promoting visibility, like see how you're going to get mentioned, but then the actual outcomes, like how you're going to get mentioned, other than AI slop and other than posting in Reddit, they don't really have an answer. And you can see this through the SEMrush toolkit. Like I'm not, if anyone thinks they want to disagree, like you go to SEMrush toolkit or go to Ahrefs brand radar, use try Profound, look at the recommendations. The recommendations, the only thing you can control as an SEO is kind of, advocating for AI slop or AI generated content or more content on your website. Everything else, you kind of need someone else to do. So that's the reason I think the GEO market is not going to grow as big as we think it's going to grow or as big as these investors think it's going to grow, because it's not the job of SEOs. And like we discussed previously, it's the job of the entire marketing team. So like one way you're going to get more mentions in AI is have a better brand. So you're going to invest in PR, you're going to invest in community building, you're going to invest in other things. And in an organization, they're not going to be categorized as GEO. Like if we're spending more money on PR, like that's the PR budget, but we're doing that PR for GEO. So we might get like a subcategory or like a subline item, but that's not the main reason. So yeah, I don't think the market is going to grow significantly from SEO. And that's why I think rather than trying to invent a brand new thing that everybody is rushing to, now is the time to position SEO as the center of the marketing world, as a center of marketing within an organization, because at the end of the day, SEO is going to control how your brand appears in AI search. Like, we're the people that are saying, hey, AI is saying bad things about our branded implementation. Forget about ranking for non-branded keywords. AI is saying bad things about our brands, and this is the SEO things we need to do to influence our brand. So, yeah, long answer. I don't think the market's going to grow as much as people think it's going to grow, because it's not the job of GEO people. Like, you're not going to have a new category that's going to do PR separate from your actual PR company. I think I think marketing will grow as a whole, but yeah, I think like we said, I don't see a great road ahead for like GEO specific companies and even GEO as its own discipline.
Yes, I also think so. What what will happen over time is I think that the marketing will shift to more of like, oh, I hate to say that, but people will try to introduce like more and more of these agentic tools in their marketing. And over time, what will happen is like some of these will actually work, like will actually be able to deliver ROI. That is not happening in 2026, not 2027, but the amount of the money that is going into the sector, I think that by 2030 there will be a big part of like these agents running the marketing operations. So this is something that people who are like getting into the marketing right now, or who are at like mid level looking to get promoted, or what they should be looking into, they should also like try to keep an eye on these like automation things and everything else, because for right now it's not there, but it will get there in like 2030. And they for that time you have to prepare, or you have to at least start thinking of the way that what you will be doing in marketing team in 2030 if an agent or multiple agents are also like working with you.
Yeah, it's a good point. And look, we lost Ed, but yeah, look, we're here on the call because we're going above and beyond our day to day jobs, and we want to learn more. So I think what you just said is very, it's quite important. I think the people that go above and beyond now and actually try and learn, and they want to learn about what's happening in the AI world. They want to learn about automations, like you said. They want to learn about how they can make their job quicker. I think they'll be fine, and they'll be fine in a few years' time. But those people that aren't taking action right now, so like they're not looking into automations, I know there's a lot of hype about AI agents, and some of them aren't that great right now, but still take the effort to learn about what an AI agent is or how you can use it in your role. Because, yeah, in 3, 4, 5 years' time, it's going to be such an important part of what we do day to day. And yeah, if we have that knowledge now, that will serve people well in a few years, in a few years' time.
Yeah. I know like a couple of professors who work at RMIT. Like it's a big university in Melbourne. Like they have like around 30,000 students, and their marketing course. And I know the director like who designs that course. They are also like thinking of ways to introduce like at least 1 year where you have 2 semesters where you are talking about like computer science plus marketing, not like hardcore computer science where you are just going through an overview of like how MCPs work, how these agents work, what are APIs, what is embeddings, how these like different tools work, so that even like who is graduating with a marketing degree will have a brief overview of like how these new stuff actually technically works and how they can use it in their marketing workflows. So that is something I think everyone should be looking at right now, because I know like many SEOs who don't come from computer science background, they did some other degree, and then just over a period of time they just happened to like stumble upon SEO and they decided to make it their career. But right now I think it's the right time to start thinking about computer science, not like going like really deep into it, but at least surface level programming languages, how MCPs work, as I mentioned, and all these new stuff that is coming up.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny you say that because I have a geography degree, so I'm the actual GEO specialist, and then I and then I fell into SEO after that. But what you even said, like even if you don't want to learn computer science, it's okay. Like just look at new technology. So Perplexity Comet, it has that assistant that takes over your browser. Um, you know, play around with it. So I was in Perplexity Comet and I was looking at Google Flights, and I wanted to pull some ranges. So on Google Flights, they have a graph which says the low price and the high price, and I wanted to create a graph for another travel website. And I wanted to pull data from like flights to Las Vegas from a bunch of different cities, and I told the agent to do it. But then I realized the agent can't read the graph. So as an SEO, I'm thinking in the future that's going to be a problem. So if, for example, if Chrome they build their own agent, which soon they will, that will take over Chrome and it does tasks for you. As an SEO, if you have some pricing that's in the graph, or you have some numbers in the graph, that agent isn't able to read the graph. So then you need to present that text on the page in a different way. So I think that's just one way. Like I used the new technology to do something, but then I saw that technology encountered a problem, and I applied it. Okay, in 1 year time, in a year's time, if this is the norm in Chrome, how could this potentially affect my web page? Because yeah, when agentic browsing or whatever we want to call it becomes the norm, SEO, GEO, whatever we want to call it, it's going to change again because there's certain elements on a page now that these robots simply won't be able to interact with, right? So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
what like some of the people like I used to work, like I'm still in touch with them. They are at like really executive level in these large companies, and even they were telling me that what they are saying broadly, like these big consulting firms like EY and Accenture, Deloitte, and how they build strategies for these large brands, not in terms of like marketing, but overall positioning strategy in the market. What they are saying right now is that users are getting more and more power. So anyone can do way more research, way more analysis compared to last year. And it is getting more and more power to the user over time. So one of marketing executive was telling me that if in 2030 users have so many tools to do deep research, analysis of the information, their data, they don't need to know much. They can just do it. Then is there any value to a brand except price? So if in 2030 there are five big shoe brands, most of their product features are almost same, like they are all good quality for everyone. So if I'm doing research and it comes to me and it says ChatGPT or Google AI mode or whatever tool there will be at that time. It comes to me and say that buy from all these five brands are all right for your use case, whatever you described. Then where does the purchase comes down to? It's come down to price, where I can pay the least to get the same benefits. So, are we heading towards a marketing scene where it's not going to be about brand, but rather it will become more about the price that you can offer your product at? So, this is also something that businesses need to consider overall in their strategy, because if everyone is able to do the research and you essentially everyone is a superman or superwoman, then their choices will come down to getting max benefit at the least price. So is there will be like a product price war in 2030, or where we are heading? I'm not sure, but this is something that people should think about, I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a cultural thing too, because some people it's definitely going to be price. Other people, it's what brand they love the most. So, like, I have an iPhone. I'm sure some of you have iPhones, but some people don't buy iPhones. But lots of people know that iPhone's probably not the best phone out there, but they just buy it anyway because the power of the brand. And again, I'm just tying it back to what we talked about earlier. Yes, price will be one thing, but there's also going to be those people that if it's recommending five things and they're saying, oh, all these five shoes are great and whatnot, if it's not price, it's going to be the power of the brand that influences the buying decision. And that's the stuff that, like the SEOs listening to this or other people listening to this, that's what we can influence now because, like we said, focus on building a good brand, good product that gets good reviews. You're improving your brand, overall brand reputation. And then we're linking it to the Levi story where that didn't happen overnight. It took them 100 years. But again, if you're building a business that wants to be around in 10 years time, you know, that's how you, that's how you get ahead. You prioritize everything that's going to be great about your brand and you work on those things.
Yeah, of course. I think brand will still remain a factor for a long time. Like before, we have AGI, this artificial general intelligence that can do anything for you. But in terms of like where we are heading right now, like how does the brand identity on the web look like? Will there be websites in the future? Will there be social media platforms? Will there be feeds? Or will there be anything new? Like, so that is also something which is exciting to hear about right now. Like some people are saying that there will be no websites. There will be no like Walmart Walmart website where you can go to product page and buy the product there. Rather, it's just going to be ChatGPT where you can just enter anything and say that buy it from Walmart or buy it from like Coles in Australia. It's going to be a different world where brand factor will still stay there, but that identity and how that brand is represented overall on the web, I think it's going to change a lot in like next 5 years. But I'm not sure where it is heading, but it is heading in like some exciting direction for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll be able to see within like a year, I think, as ChatGPT rolls out shopping and like you're able to. I think they just announced yesterday that Walmart products you can buy them through the ChatGPT interface. So yeah, we're already going to start seeing signs of that. Yeah, definitely, there's going to be a huge shift over the next few years.
So I think let's come to a conclusion right now. Like I feel like if you're looking to do AI SEO, whatever we talked about, Harpreet, Edward also mentioned some interesting stuff. I also like went over some specifics of things. Whatever you are doing, just make sure that you are not going to harm your SEO that you have already done. So let's say you are a brand, you're already getting like 5 million monthly traffic from Google search, and your CMO or brand manager or someone externally from an agency is pitching to you that you should do AI slop, as Harpreet was talking about. You should be really, really careful. You should be excited about doing AI search optimization, building internal processes, new team structures, new KPIs to make sure that everything is getting done in the right way. But you should also be really, really careful around not harming your existing SEO. That will be like my number one tip right now, because I've heard like many cases where medium to enterprise size brands, CMOs are really, really excited to go ahead with publishing hundreds of like these AI generated pages without considering that it may harm their like 10 million monthly traffic that they are already getting from Google. So this is my
Yeah.
like that final advice about AI search.
Yeah. That's my biggest takeaway too. Is like if you're
Yeah, I
already
mean,
doing a good go
what
ahead.
were you saying?
I was just saying if you're already
No, no,
doing a
no, no,
good
no.
job at SEO, like continue doing it. Don't ruin your SEO in the name of AI search.
But okay, let me ask you: if you're a new brand, should the new brands engage in the AI slop?
Not to a big degree. Okay, so what's the level of I'm going to put my black hat on, which I have anyway. Now, what's the degree of AI slop? So it doesn't have to be AI slop where it's in the ever evolving world, but you can use AI to scale content. I still believe in topical authority. I still believe in covering your topic. So if you're a personal injury lawyer and you have a new personal injury website, I still believe that you should cover all the personal injury questions because that's going to establish your E. If a customer comes onto your website or potential client and and you don't have a guide on like what to do after you get into a car accident in Vancouver, you don't have that type of content on your website, I don't think that's a good thing either. So I think use AI to create content for your website, but don't engage in too much AI slop. So if you're using AI to create content, instead of pumping out 10 pieces in a week, you can use pump out one piece in a week, but make sure that piece is edited. And rather than spending 5 hours creating rather than spending like 5 minutes creating 10 pieces of content, you might spend 8 hours making one piece of really good content that's been edited with AI, but you still end up saving time in the end. So something paying a human writer, that human writer, they might have taken more time to create that piece than what AI gives you. So yeah, use it as the first draft, but don't go too crazy.
Gagan, I think it was you who had originally shared this with me, but then it went like really viral. What Search Engine Land did with their AI writer, and then it said like edited by so and so, reviewed by so and so, and I thought that was a good way to do it. If you're putting out AI content that actually sounds like AI content, you want to at least show like human faces and say that it was human reviewed and human edited. But it's honestly, I also feel like it's not too hard to put out AI content that doesn't sound like AI content. I think it's just a lot of people are lazy and they want to take all these shortcuts. And that piece, by the way, by Search Engine Land sounded and read like AI content, which was they even talked about the person who implemented it on LinkedIn even said like, oh, we went through this crazy long process, this back and forth with all these different editors and with Perplexity and with all these AI tools. And I'm like, yeah, but you left in the M dashes. You're like,
Yeah, like it's not hard to edit. Like get rid of in the fast pace and the ever evolving. That's one thing I shared on Twitter a few weeks ago. Like go to like Investopedia or CFI Institute and just type in site colon and then in the ever evolving or in the fast paced world. And there's so many pieces of content. All you need to do is going to take 20 seconds to change like if you got Grammarly, I think Grammarly will do it for you, which like just change the obvious signs and then go from there. Like if you've got that traditional list where it's a bullet point where you have the bold text, right? You have a bullet point, bold text, colon, and then some content. Why don't you just make that into like a H4 heading? Like find a way to split it up. Like there's no need to use the same output that ChatGPT gives you. Yeah, like the bar is low to edit content, but people are just not. They're just being lazy, I think.
yeah, they're really lazy. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining the show. And I want to I want to do this again. Hopefully, when I have a better internet connection. I mean, it was fine for the first hour. I don't know, but it was cutting out for the last, I guess, like 20 minutes.
No,
But
thanks for
but
having us. It was fun.
this was so much fun. So where should everybody find you guys? And by the way, descriptions will be in or your links will be in the description. But just share right now.
Yeah, I post more on X, so you can find me under Harpreet Chatter _, and yeah, my link will be in the description.
Yeah, same for me. I usually post a lot on X, and if you want like a more toned down sort of like structured content, then you can follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you guys are just some of the best follows. I mean, actually, both of your stuff shows up for me on X and LinkedIn, and it's just like even actually you were saying in the evolving world, I heard that, and I'm like, oh, I can make a viral video on that. That's great subject matter. Yeah, go to any site, do site or just do site colon. Yeah, that's great. All right, guys, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. This is episode 835 of The Edward Show, 835 days in a row doing this podcast, even on days where my internet isn't perfect and I cut in and out. Thanks again to our guests. I hope they will return. And thank you all again. I will talk to you. I'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Bye now.